URC round number 5, folks, and Glasgow have taken on the Bulls, come back from behind, beaten them 21 points to 12. Scrum was under a lot of pressure from that Bulls pack, but Glasgow, with their maul going, potentially could have got themselves a bonus point in this one, but missed out on that. So both sides will look back on this one, with a few missed opportunities. There's one try. Well, it's not a try in the end. LaRue and Arendse are combining for a length of the field worldie, which gets TMO'd. That one essentially is kind of a 14-point swing, but hey, it's a cracking game. We'll go through some of the key events and stats, and then both these sides take a break until the end of November for URC action. Anyway, 4 minutes in, first try of the game, Sione Tuipulotu, he gets his team on the board, and it was relentless from Glasgow. They had all the ball. Bulls hardly touched anything. Started with a Cummings line break, of all guys, to be getting himself galloping into the open field. The big rangy lock. But, then it was high tackle on Horn, which led to a penalty. Not opting for threes, Glasgow. It ends up with Tuipulotu going over for a try. And, pretty much a perfect start to the match for them. The Bulls almost had an instant reply, but for a Willie LaRue knock on, but he made up for it not too long later when Glasgow kicked to the Bulls, which can be a bit of a risky affair if the kick chase is not on. Like, LaRue did have a little bit of pressure on him, but he's able to quickly, as he takes the ball from the box kick, quickly pop the ball to Sebastian de Klerk, who is just such a threat. He doesn't need much space at all to get himself just away from all the tacklers. He gets himself into a bit of space, forces a 2-on-1. Trevino Jacobs is the support player. He goes over for a try, which is unconverted, but it is 7 points to 5 with the Glasgow boys still up by 2. One of my neighbours is bringing their bins in. That's a happy Saturday morning for me. And then also, I got to say credit to Chris Patterson on the comms, because I've been listening to the URC commentators for years calling Ambrose Papier. I'm not sure if that goes back to some old French or Latin lessons or something, but it's been Papier. It's always been Papier. The guy's a Springbok, and it was a Springbok when he was Papier. Chris Patterson was calling it Papier. So thank you for doing that, Chris Patterson. You're a top bloke. To be fair, both sides were winning penalties initially at scrum time, but Glasgow certainly started copping the wrong side of the ref's whistle for that one earlier, as Jamie Batty was getting really dominated. But, I mean, there was nothing really quite clicking. The scoreline was 7-5 for ages. There were some good high ball takes from both sides. There were some good defensive plays from both sides. There were a few knock-ons from both sides. But, the Bulls scrum really started to turn the screws. Jamie Batty gets a yellow card warning at scrum time. The Bulls did miss a shot at goal right before half-time. It was seemingly pretty windy, but we go into the shares with just that 2-point difference, despite the fact that Glasgow have had 60% of the possession, 61% of the territory, but the run meters are pretty even, so the Bulls have been doing a bit more with less. They've had to make 103 tackles to 49, which just shows you how much defensive work the Bulls guys have been having to doing. Penalty counts 5 apiece, but 3 of those for Glasgow are Jamie Batty, which is concerning. They take him off at halftime. Nathan Macbeth comes on at loose head prop. Initially, on the Glasgow feed anyway, the scrum is starting to look a bit better. But despite that, it was the Bulls. Bulls that took the lead. Start of the second half, it was de Klerk again with a half break. You can see why he's on the kind of wider list for the Springboks squad, which has been named earlier in the week, and it was kind of the middle of the field as well. And then quick ball from the Bulls ends with Willie LaRue getting himself a try. So 12 points to 7, and to be fair, that one kind of started with turnover ball way down the other end. So the Bulls, again, I don't want to say hitting on the counter, but really you can't give them any space if your defensive line is not set, because this Bull side will punish. And then the Bulls scrum gets on top again on their own feed, and the yellow card warning to Batty continues over to Macbeth, and he gets yellow carded, which feels a bit harsh for Macbeth, but it's a team game, and if your scrum is failing in that one area, the punishment's got to come. So Macbeth gets himself carded, and I feel like if you're a Bulls fan, this is the period you need to look at with a real critical eye, because you've got a man advantage and didn't convert. I mean, to be fair, Glasgow was doing pretty well during the yellow card. There were no scrums, which helped. But again, it was turnover ball where this miracle try, which gets TMO'd, comes into play. You know, it's the Bulls pouncing Hrobala to LaRue, who gets it to Aronsa from a chip, and then LaRue's down the wing. Looks like he's going to go all the way, but he hasn't got the gas at his age, but pops it to currently Aronsa, who looks to have scored. But they TMO it, and way back way when is a knock on, which is rightly chalked off. It was a hell of a try, though. But even with that try, that was a try from counter-attacking play as well. Ideally, if you're the Bulls with the man advantage, it should be you turning the screws, not just hitting on the counter, right? So, yeah. But it sucks for a Bulls fan, but it's great for Glasgow because it's also pretty much a 14-point swing, because instead of 7 down one end, it's 7 down the other. Not long later. The Bulls get a yellow card warning of their own for too many penalties conceded in the red zone. Glasgow opt for the corner. They get the maul going, and they get themselves a penalty try right at the end of Glasgow's own yellow card. So yellow card period seen out for Glasgow, and then they put one on the Bulls as well. Klopper goes to the bin for the maul defense being cynical from the Bulls. So yeah, Glasgow get the penalty try. Now it's 14-12. It could have been, 7 points to 17 or 19 if the Bulls had got their try, but not to be. Then Macbeth strikes back as he gets a try during the yellow card for Glasgow. That's what you want your side to do when you've got the man advantage. Again, they go for the maul. Glasgow doesn't do it, but they go close range phases. And Macbeth, who's just come back from the bin, he gets over on 69 minutes, so 21 points to 12. That is the final score of the game. But, I mean, Glasgow had another chance to go for a 5-meter line not too long later. But not straight. Real simple one. That could have been potentially another try. Could have been a bonus point, but not to be. So like I said, Glasgow will be disappointed not to have gotten the bonus point given how much ball they had. And the Bulls, despite looking dangerous on the counter, will be disappointed not to have just been able to kind of take the game to Glasgow by, accumulating some territorial and possession pressure. Just didn't really happen, especially in the second half. Like, Glasgow's possession and territory numbers were even higher in the second half than the first. Defenders beaten 33-19 to Glasgow. Penalty count finishes 7-8 against the Bulls, so only one penalty in it all up. It was largely the Bulls' scrum, which was able to generate those penalties. Clean breaks, though, 5-3 to the Bulls. So that's one area that Glasgow will be, I guess, a bit disappointed again, because they threw phase after phase at the Bulls. And largely the Bulls didn't look to be easily broken. It was the maul. It was the maul and the close range phases that kind of got them, barring the Tuipulotu one. But, yeah, individuals. Dempsey gets man of the match, 23 carries, beats 5 defenders. He was looking very physical. Hrobala has 23 tackles defensively. Tuipulotu beats 5 defenders, gets a try. Sebastian de Klerk gets 2 of the Bulls' 5 clean breaks. LaRue had 83 meters, but yeah, ultimately the Bulls come away with this one with nothing. And for Glasgow, despite not getting the bonus point, it's a win over one of the URC's kind of heavy hitting sides, so they will be mighty pleased with that. That is the end of URC action for these guys for a wee while. End of November, Glasgow will get back into action against the Scarlets away, and the Bulls will be back in South Africa to take on the Lions. You guys let us know your thoughts on the match. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I would greatly appreciate it. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.